My name is Sophia Bennett. I'm 28 years old, and until a few months ago, I believed I had a simple and peaceful life. I worked as a nurse at a small community clinic, and I was married to a man named Daniel. From the outside, everything looked perfect, but the truth was very different. Over time, the man who once promised to love and protect me slowly became the person who humiliated me the most. And everything finally exploded on the night he embarrassed me in front of his entire family. What Daniel didn't know was that someone unexpected heard everything that night. And that person would completely change what happened next. Before I continue, if you enjoy emotional stories like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel grow. Now, let me tell you how my story began. Daniel and I met 4 years ago. Back then, he seemed like the perfect man. He was charming, confident, and always made me feel special. Sometimes he would bring me coffee during my night shifts at the clinic. Other times he would wait outside just to walk me home safely. Everyone around me said the same thing. "Sophia, you're so lucky." And for a while, I believed them. But after we got married, small changes began to appear. Daniel started criticizing little things about me. At first, it was my clothes. Then it was my job. Then it became almost everything I did. He often reminded me that his family was wealthy and successful. Compared to them, I was just a nurse from a small town. At first, I ignored it. I thought maybe he was stressed. But the criticism slowly turned into something worse. Humiliation, especially whenever his family was around. One evening, Daniel told me his parents were hosting a large family dinner. "Just try not to embarrass me tonight," he said while fixing his jacket. His words caught me off guard. "I've never embarrassed you," I replied quietly. He shrugged. "Just don't say anything strange in front of my parents." The drive to his parents' mansion felt uncomfortable. Something in the air felt tense. But I had no idea that night would become one of the most painful moments of my life. When we arrived, the house was glowing with lights. Luxury cars filled the driveway. Inside, the dining room was already full of relatives. Daniel's mother greeted us at the door. But instead of welcoming me warmly, she looked at my dress with a small frown. "Oh, Sophia, that's what you chose to wear?" she asked. I forced a smile. "Yes, I thought it looked nice." She chuckled lightly. "Well, nurses do have a different sense of fashion." Several guests laughed quietly. My cheeks burned with embarrassment. Daniel didn't defend me. He simply walked past me and sat down at the table. And in that moment, I realized this dinner was going to be much worse than I expected. Dinner began with conversations about business. Daniel's father proudly talked about his newest investments. His cousin announced he had opened a new company. Everyone applauded loudly. Then Daniel's father suddenly turned toward me. "So, Sophia," he said, "how is the little clinic job going?" Before I could answer, Daniel interrupted. "Oh, it's nothing special," he said casually. "She mostly checks temperatures and hands out medicine." The table filled with laughter. My heart sank. I had worked countless exhausting shifts helping patients. I had comforted families during difficult moments. But Daniel made my job sound meaningless. I stared at him in disbelief. But he kept talking. "Honestly, Sophia should probably stop working," he said. "My family earns enough money for both of us." His mother nodded approvingly. That would certainly make more sense. My chest tightened. Then Daniel added something that hurt even more. "She's never really been the ambitious type." The room went silent. Those words felt like a slap. I slowly pushed my chair back and stood up. "I need some air," I whispered. No one stopped me, not even Daniel. The cold night air hit my face as I stepped outside. Tears blurred my vision as I walked down the driveway. I felt humiliated, small, invisible. For the first time, I truly questioned whether marrying Daniel had been a mistake. Then I noticed someone standing near the street. It was Mr. Harris, my quiet neighbor. He lived a few houses away from Daniel and me. We didn't talk often, but he was always polite. "Sophia," he said gently, "are you all right?" I quickly wiped my tears. "I'm fine," I said softly, but he clearly didn't believe me. "Mr. Harris glanced toward the house. "I heard some of what happened inside," he admitted. My heart dropped. "You did?" He nodded slowly. "Yes. And I must say, Daniel clearly doesn't understand who he's talking to." I frowned in confusion. "What do you mean?" "Mr. Harris smiled slightly. Sometimes people underestimate others." Then he said something that completely surprised me. "Sophia, your father would never allow someone to treat you that way." My stomach tightened. "You know my father?" "Mr. Harris chuckled quietly. "Oh, yes. Much better than you think." I stared at him in disbelief. "How do you know my father?" I asked. "Mr. Harris leaned calmly against the gate. "Your father and I worked together many years ago." My mind raced. My father had always been a quiet man. He rarely talked about his past. "What kind of work?" I asked. "Mr. Harris smiled slightly. "Let's just say your father built something far bigger than Daniel's family realizes." I shook my head. "That doesn't make sense." Mr. Harris looked at me seriously. "Sophia, your father never told you about the healthcare foundation he created." My heart skipped. "What foundation?" Mr. Harris answered calmly. "The one that owns several major hospitals in this region." I froze. Daniel's father had business contracts with that very foundation. And suddenly everything started making sense. Daniel had spent the entire evening humiliating me without realizing who my family truly was. The next morning, Daniel received a phone call. I was sitting quietly in the kitchen when his phone rang. At first, he sounded confident, but then his expression slowly changed. "What do you mean the contract is canceled?" he asked. Silence filled the room. Daniel's face turned pale. "Yes, I understand," he said quietly before hanging up. He turned toward me. "What did you do?" I blinked in confusion. "Do? Our biggest partnership just ended," he snapped, "and it happened right after last night." Before I could answer, someone knocked at the door. Daniel opened it and immediately froze. Standing outside was Mr. Harris, and beside him was my father. My father stepped forward calmly. "I believe we need to talk." Daniel suddenly realized something he should have understood long ago. Respect isn't measured by wealth, and the woman he had humiliated in front of everyone was never as powerless as he believed.